Wrapping up a busy week in the Middle East as Iran reels from the death of its president, prompting questions about the future of a region that's already in turmoil. This as a top UN court orders Israel to halt military operations in Rafah, and as Norway, Ireland, and Spain announce that they will recognize a Palestinian state. Here to discuss all, Jonathan Schanzer. He is the Senior Vice President of Research for the Foundation of Defense of Democracies. Jonathan, let's start with the death of Iran's president. Looking at markets, oil markets, financial markets, not much of a ripple, but certainly a lot of finger pointing.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now there's an interesting question about the trajectory of Iran in the aftermath of the death of this Ebrahim Raisi. This is a man who I think we can say with some certainty has been part of the planning and the direction of this multi-front war that Iran has been waging by proxy around the region. I think there was maybe some hope early on that we could see perhaps Iran begin to retrench a little bit, that the regime might feel a little less stable, a little bit more worried about outsiders trying to erode, or even those from within the regime trying to erode the power of those that are at the helm. But I think what we saw in the aftermath of the death of Raisi is that there was actually a meeting of a number of those proxies. They came together in Iran, and they have vowed to redouble their efforts in this war that they're waging against Israel. That includes Hamas, it includes the Houthis, it includes Hezbollah, Shiite militias in Iraq and Syria. That meeting was attended by senior IRGC officials, the people that are truly responsible for coordinating these activities. So unfortunately, I think we're due for more violence, more mayhem, and more unrest at the hands of the regime in the weeks and perhaps months to come.
How important is it? Is the role of the Ayatollah still supremely important here, or it feels like no matter who the president is, it's still going to be the direction of the Ayatollah?
Correct. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a religious autocracy, a theocracy, if you will. And there's one man that runs all of it. Now, there's some interesting questions about him as well, because Ali Khamenei is getting up there in age. He's not been particularly healthy. So there's going to be questions about succession there as well. But yeah, the president, I mean, we've seen that presidents can get along with the supreme leader. We can see the presidents align with the supreme leader, but it almost doesn't matter because he selects those presidents. He selects the government that surrounds him, and all of it is subjugated to that clerical vision, that revolution that Iran pursues around the Middle East and indeed around the world.
I want to talk about the International Court of Justice now ordering a halt to military activity in Gaza. Does this have any teeth? Where does this, obviously Israel has been on the back foot with respect to the public relations aspect of this war over the last several weeks and months. How does this intensify that?
Well, it intensifies it quite a bit, and watching Israeli media in the aftermath of that decision, you can get a sense that they're nervous. I mean, I think, look, on the one hand, you can say that it was a ruling that barred Israel, or was intending to bar Israel from operating in Rafah, but not the rest of Gaza. So in that sense, I think the Israelis feel like they still have a free hand to battle Hamas in all these other places around the Gaza Strip. But at the same time, this was a very clear attempt, at least in my view, to restrict Israel from finishing off the war that Hamas started. This really does appear to be a lifeline to the Hamas terrorist organization. And remarkably, it was drawing on evidence that came from the UN Relief and Works Agency, this agency known as UNRWA. Just earlier, a couple of hours before the ICJ statement came down, that ruling came down, the Israelis identified 3 bodies of hostages that were being held under an UNRWA facility. And UNRWA has been a partner to Hamas for years. And so it's just outrageous, I think, when you look at how this case was built out, what the net effect is. But look, there's one last thing that we need to be aware of, and that is that if the Israelis decide that they want to defy this order, then this will be brought to the UN Security Council. And then it will really be on the shoulders of the Biden administration to determine whether it's time to enact the veto. If they do that, well, then Israel can continue to do what it has been doing, which is to wage a surgical war against Hamas in all of the Gaza Strip with the intent to destroy Hamas ultimately. If the Biden administration declines to veto, then we are in uncharted territory where the Israelis will find themselves alone, having to make a decision about their own survival against Hamas and Iran and all these other proxies, or its acceptance in the international community.
To that point, trying to educate myself on the ICJ, I see one of the covenants that helped to maybe, at least they claim to make this decision, was the Genocide Convention. And I bring that up because we've heard that word used on college campuses here. We know now that Ireland, Spain, and Norway say they will recognize the Palestinian state. And we, again, talk about Israel being backed into a corner alone, with those sort of words being sadly ironically, lobbed at them in their fight to make sure that October 7th never happens again.
Yeah, I mean, look, first of all, just the wielding of the term genocide, I think it's just insane. It's ridiculous on its face. We've seen the growth of the population of Palestinians over the last decades. Israel's not been waging a genocide. That is absolutely clear. But it's part of a playbook that has been designed by those who have perpetrated what we call the boycott, divestment, and sanctions movement. They are attempting to turn Israel into the apartheid regime of the 1990s. They are trying to delegitimize it. They're trying to destroy it with legalistic approaches.
Jonathan, thank you very, very much.